At some point, this isn't going to be like a kid who had some problems. This is going to be truly.
Yeah, it's not cute anymore.
It's not cute
and
anymore.
No one's going to make excuses about your upbringing or the lack of parenting. It just becomes, you're going to end up being a ward of the state. I mean, it sounds like you were almost a feral animal.
Totally feral. Yeah. Actually, and I have some close friends that's how they, one way that this can be kind of conceptualized is there's an emerging idea that's kind of interesting about impatience. So we've all had the feeling of being impatient. Some people are far more patient than others. But if you've ever been in line at the store and you feel like something's going very slowly, the person in front of you is taking a long time, they're doing some returns, and you're getting kind of impatient, maybe you're breathing in a mask and you're like, ugh, like what's the idea is that if you're getting a certain frequency of pulses from your body, and if those pulses are coming in quickly, like you're perceiving yourself, that interoception quickly, it's like pulse, 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 pulse. You're going to be more geared towards your internal representation. And then you're seeing what's going on in the outside world, and it seems like it's going very slowly. But there are other times when you're in line at the store, someone's getting some returns and you're texting on your phone, or you've had a great day, you've had a great run, your family's in great shape, and you're fine. Why? Well, the frequency of those pulses, that interoception, is matched pretty well to your outside environment. And so impatience is really when your internal sort of metronome, tick, 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 is not matched well to the external environment. There are other times when you're feeling like your internal metronome is tick, 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 and you've got a million things coming at you through email or text, and you've got a bunch of things, and you're feeling overwhelmed and tired. Well, in either case, there's nothing right or wrong. It's just your body and your brain are trying to say, what's going on in the outside world and how well matched am I to it?
Right. I'm glad we're doing it in person and not remotely. And I think what I want to do is start with your origin story, because your path is very unlikely, your path to becoming a scientist. And I think it actually also kind of contextualizes some of the things that I want to talk about with you today. So maybe start there.
Sure. So on the one hand, maybe I was fated to become a scientist. I guess the two things that are relevant there are, I always loved animals, and I've always been obsessed with animal behavior. Like, just could watch Cousteau shows growing up, underwater life or animals hunting, animals doing anything is just so fascinating to me, because I think even at a really young age, I've always just been intrigued in sort of what drives different animals to behave in the way they do, and how body form matches to, I didn't know what it was, but brains and how that all works. So I've always been obsessed with animals. And then my dad's a scientist. So he's a physicist. Was really early in chaos theory. And so growing up in our home, we had scientists over for dinner, and graduate students would come over for barbecues and things like that.
Is he a Stanford professor?
He was at Stanford. He was mostly at Xerox PARC, which is kind of famous if you read the Steve Jobs book, is for the development of the GUI interface, the graphic user interface, and sort of early days of the computer. So he had a lab there, and he had a lab in applied physics at Stanford, and something called symbolic systems, which is a Stanford degree in kind of ecology and computation, that kind of thing. So I grew up in this family where science was very prominent, and we had lots of discussions in our home that I would overhear and I didn't understand about physics. And we'd spend summers at the Aspen Center for Physics, which was like
good times.
Yeah.
As
so,
a kid.
and we were, and to be clear, you hear the word Aspen, we were a middle-class family, but they have this Aspen Center for Physics. So the Feynman, Richard Feynman was there, Murray Gell-Mann, like all these luminaries of physics, Peter Kaus. And my dad was really good at telling me the stories about these guys, and then I'd always want to meet them. And it was mostly guys back then. There weren't many women in physics. So I was kind of immersed in science from a young age. But right about age 13, my parents split up, and he moved overseas. He moved to Denmark, and my mom was really struggling with the breakup. And I wasn't in contact with him anymore. So I had this really unusual childhood where, we didn't talk about sports, we talked about science. And I had this close relationship with science and the people around science. But then all of a sudden, the structure around family, instead of dinners together every night,